To the live stream. Hope you're having a good day. I'm Alex Bomberg, new commentator here in VRL, replacing, well, it's just me today. Sam off to the cinema to watch the new Star Wars film, so hopefully he enjoys that. But I hope you're all having a good Sunday. The driver's now ready for the pre-season test, the first time we'll get a chance to see a lot of fast drivers here for Season 4 of VRL, as I mentioned. Notably, we have a few people not attending today, the Williams drivers. We were planning to have both Williams drivers, however it looks like one of the Williams has a fuel problem, of which the team reportedly not able to fix before the start of the race. So, we've got the qualifying session first. 18 minutes ahead of the drivers. We've got 16 drivers in the session. So we all wait in what is an overcast Russia. Let's get some predictions in the comments. You can see both Mercedes now coming out. There's Phil, got an Alfa Romeo slightly further down the pit lane. We've got a lot of cars coming out. There goes Rico, both Mercedes out. It'll be interesting to see who can do what, who can produce here in VRL, the pre-season test. Can anyone strike fear into the hearts of their opponents before the start of the season? Got a lot of cars out on track. We'll have a quick look at the tyres that they've all fitted. The soft seem to be a pretty favourable tyre, as here at Russia 50% race, it's a pretty easy one stop. I expect all drivers to be aiming for the one stop. There's not too much benefits with going on the medium tyre. However, Rico definitely has done in the Mercedes, looking to make an impression. Quite interesting. Also Steve in the Red Bull, also on the medium tyres, rocking a nice gold helmet here for Season 4 of VRL. Other than that, Steve and Rico the only people to be on those medium tyres. Welcome everybody to the stream. We just started qualifying, 16 drivers tackling Russia today. You can see, I believe this is Steve getting held up behind the other medium tyre runner of the Mercedes of Rico, as they all prepare for their laps. We've got the McLaren starting his lap, the first lap, second qualifying lap I do believe. His first lap in this session. Be able to see what he can do. It's all look pretty pedestrian. Obviously it's very easy to cut a corner and get your lap invalidated here at the Sochi Autodrome. Looks like the McLaren driver keeping it between the white lines very well, very successfully, so he continues on his lap. It all looks pretty clean. But through the final sector now, or into the final sector I should say, onto the long back straight, he will be able to open the DRS as he speeds down the back straight. Speeds up to 200 miles an hour before braking hard into the right-hander, hooking up the apex. This slow speed section now, it's really important to hook up all the apexes in this little sector. A little over the crest, left-hander, right-hander, left-hander into a right-hander. We've got Vrl F1 in the Alfa Romeo, goes fastest with a 1:31.7. Be interesting to see what this McLaren driver can do as he goes through the final corner. It's a pretty easy lap time, and nowhere near actually the top time of Jamil. Meanwhile, Luke in the Racing Point Goes about a tenth faster. Got the Ferrari of Conyell. Phil Smith going second, less than a tenth behind the leader of Luke. So we look a little bit further back, looks like Felix, who came out on his lap, has now pitted. Steve has gone 7th, and Thomas, actually Darth FIFA, going 4th with his lap time, just about half a second off. Sam in the lead. It's currently a racing point 1-2, about half a second clear of his teammate. And we've got Billy here in the Williams, staying at Williams from last season. His teammate Felix departing for pastures new at Renault. He backed off that lap, so I'd imagine he'd be going again. VRT Midnight now goes quicker than Sen. Tim in the Renault managed to go P3, so it's currently the Haas on provisional pole. Tim going P3, that's an impressive effort from himself. We look a little bit further back of those on laps. We've got NSX Lion in the Red Bull going down the back straight. Here's Zeph, and he's backed off on his lap, so he'll be into the pits. That's one set of tyres wasted. We're going to back to NSX Lion here, as we mentioned, through the final sector. I don't think he's going to be challenging. He must have had an off in his lap, because he's nowhere near, and he'll be boxing for another lap. We got Rico now back out, this time onto the soft tyres. He clearly wasn't liking the medium tyres, and Steve hasn't had an incredible time around himself. Back to Billy though, through the penultimate corner. It's all looked pretty tidy. Through the final corner, he's going to accelerate to the line. It's P4 currently for the Williams driver, the only Williams driver today, as his teammate suffered a fuel leak issue reportedly by the VRL Williams Instagram account, and they were unable to fix his car before the race. So Billy up in P4 on slightly older tyres though, so it'll be interesting to see if that affects him coming into the race. Looks like Tim Wenting, sorry, on another lap. He's 10 seconds off, so he'll be on his in lap now. If he comes into the pits, he can be pretty happy with that. I was about to say ahead of Felix. Felix though down in P12, still yet to set a lap time. We've got the top 11 currently. Remember, the top 10 will start on the tyres that they qualified on. The other drivers though, outside of the top 10, will get a free choice of tyres. You can see Phil going back out again, currently 6th for Phil. 7 tenths or so to the leader. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make that one up. Welcome everybody to the stream. Got any predictions for pole? I'll be looking forward to hearing them. Billy there nearly missing the pit entry. And I don't think we've got any other drivers on laps at the moment. Here's Rico, just starting his lap, going through the middle sector. This will be his first time round on the soft tyres. You know, Rico's pretty fast, has proved himself with race wins in other leagues, notably China in GPRL. A little self-promotion there. But yeah, Rico with a lot of pace. Will he be able to take it to the top flight in VRL Season 4? Look forward to seeing it. So far looks like a pretty good lap so far. So far. However, into the final sector, it's very easy to make a mistake here. Very easy to extend the track limit slightly and then your lap is gone. With Rico keeping it between the white lines very nicely. And it looks a pretty strong lap so far. As he's now back on the power into the final 2 corners, 2 90-degree right-handers. You can use a lot of track on the inside. I'd be surprised if that wasn't invalidated. Nevertheless, he continues through the final corner. He goes P8, about 1.1 seconds off the lead. And a couple of tenths of a second behind his teammate. So Rico's got more time to find in that. Ignore my voice going. I do apologise. Got a question on the stream. What's VRT's Midnight's time? His name, that's the question, his name is Jack, actually, I believe. So I'm told, I'm new to this. Is Luke on his lap time? His second time lap of the day. Just 8 minutes left in this qualifying session. A bit of an oversteer there. That's not going to help him back onto the long back straight. DRS activated. Thank you, Felix, for doing my job in the chat. Get back to Luke. Currently P5. How much time has he got? Comes through the final corner now. Can he improve on his lap time? He can. He goes P4. It's a big improvement there for Luke, about half a second, and he puts himself within striking distance on his final run for one of the other drivers. Here's his teammate Sam. A lot of curb on the inside. That's something I haven't noticed many drivers do into that section. As we mentioned, it is easy to cut a corner. I believe Steve has just gone P7 with a fresh lap time on the soft tyres. Anyway, here's Sam through the penultimate corners. On the final corner now. Back on the power. Can he get into the top flight? He improves, but it's not quite enough. Just 22,000 separate him and Jack, who's in the lead. Here is VRT Midnight on his lap now. We're going to follow him on board for this lap. I will take you through it. Through the long left-hander. Really want to open up this right-hander. Not too much curb on the inside. It's very easy to unsettle the car. Just ask Julian Palmer about that from qualifying back in 2017. Through the middle sector, it's all about carrying as much momentum as possible, using as much of the track without extending, and it looks like VRT Midnight is doing an excellent job of that so far. Through the middle sector, we've got a slow car who's going to pull off on the right. Very good job by Billy there. As onto the back straight, this has been a very clean and very good lap. Jack was able to carry the momentum through the middle sector very nicely. It's going to set him up for a nice run down the back straight. Braking now into the sharp right-hander. Quite a bit of curb opening up this left-hander. It's a short squirt of the power as you go up the gears and into this left-hander over the crest, opening up this following right-hander. Then it's back on the power. You've got 2 corners to go in essence. Quite easy corners, but it's very easy to try and want it a bit too much, take too much time and extend the limits. There goes Jack through the final corner. He improves on his lap time by quite a while, a 1:30.5, and that is very strong from the Haas driver. He's got about half a second to anyone behind him. Here we've got Jimmy Hill on a lap. He's not going to be troubling any timesheets with this one. I believe he may have made a mistake and backed off earlier. We've still got 4 drivers yet to set a lap. We've got Dylan and Zeph both on their outlaps. However, NSX Line and Felix still both in the pit lane. And here's Billy on his lap. You can see through the second sector he was slightly up on his time. Felix says he's not setting a lap, so starting from the back. Interesting. So Felix is going to sit on the live stream, watch his rivals. So we got one Renault at the top and one Renault not setting a lap, or one Renault near the top I should say. Here's Billy through the final sector on board. Staying at the same team from Season 3, Billy, hoping to bring him more success. You can see the Haas behind. I believe that could be Dylan on his lap. We'll watch Billy go through the final corner. Back on the power here. It's P4. He improves ever so slightly by about a tenth and a half. Now going to watch Dylan on his lap. The Haas we saw wasn't Dylan himself. I believe that would have been... I'm not entirely sure. But here's Dylan the reserve driver for this season for Haas. We know Dylan's very strong, so he will be looking to prove himself to the hierarchies in VRL. Just let you know, Lion, not looking for a second commentator right now. I can hold it quite well, as I will fix that game audio issue in just a moment. We're watching Dylan though as he comes through the final sector back onto the long back straight as he opens DRS. How good is his top end speed? And how good are his brakes as he breaks down into the sharp right hander? Notice he flicked into gear 2 there, something I haven't seen done before, at least today, over the crest of the left hander onto the right hander. A lot of inside curb usage there from Dylan. Just to remind you, the top time of 1:30.5. This is quite difficult to make out through the final corner for Dylan. He goes second, he puts it in the wall, getting on the power, and that's really close to the top, just 1/100th of a second separating Dylan and VRT Midnight, and it's a Haas 1-2. And it's a Haas 1-2 by a mile, because it's about half a second to the car behind, as Dylan's going to put it in the wall. So he's happy with that effort, and he won't be improving. He won't be able to get round for another lap. Let me get you a little bit of game audio in there, boys. We'll have the drivers preparing for their final laps. There's Tim. So he's obviously gone off through the first sector, and he's not going to be able to improve. So fourth is the best he'll be doing. Today, the best Dylan will be doing is second. We've got VRT Midnight, Sem on their out laps. We've got Luke on his timed lap though, so here we go. He will have a chance to set another lap. If he goes round again, it'll be somewhat borderline, I believe. A lot of outside curb there from Luke. The drivers tend to try and stay off of that one. But interesting line from Luke. It's very close between him and Billy in the Williams. Into the right-handers now. NSX Lion goes third fastest in the Red Bull. Luke then replaces him at third fastest. A good effort from himself there. Looks like a little bit further back we've got more cars on lap times. Here's Phil going through the first sector. He's ever so slightly down on his time. Got a lot of drivers attacking the track now. Here's Darth FIFA Thomas coming through the final couple of corners. He's about half a second up on his lap time. He can break well into the top 10 here if he keeps it clean through the final two corners. He goes P8, a very good effort from Thomas. He picked up a little bit more time in the final sector there. If he desperately wants, he can go for another lap, but I don't think those tyres will be best pleased should he do that. I believe I've just seen, yeah, here's the McLaren. He's just taken 7/10 out of his lap time, but still not quite enough to challenge the top guys. Rico on his lap time, he is ever so slightly up on his previous lap time, but he's gonna have to find a lot more in the final sector if he wants to challenge into the top 10. Yellow flags in the final sector. I believe that will be for drivers getting out the way as they start their final laps. Thomas retiring from the session, so he's not going to do better. You can see Rico now all out of ERS as we come through the final corner, back on the power. It's a tiny improvement, not enough for him to break anywhere, and P13 will be the best he will be doing today. Here's Jamil starting his lap time, so just about squeezing it in. Steve also just behind Jamil. He'll be able to pick up a small amount of tow. Further up, here's Sam now in 5th. Currently he's 2/10 up on his lap time. He can break into 3rd now. Across the line he does get 3rd position. He can't challenge the Haas's, but the highest is Haas 1-2, a Racing Point 3-4 provisionally, unless someone like Billy or Steve can do something about it. I believe that is it of the drivers on a lap time. Here is the Ferrari of Conyol. Dylan says he's not happy with that effort, so more time in the bag for the Haas driver. Be interesting to see what VRT Midnight has to say about that. So here comes the Ferrari through the final sector. I haven't seen his time, so I don't know where he is in relative to other people. This all looked pretty clean so far. Pick up a lot of understeer though for that right-hander, and Jack goes ever so slightly quicker, about 2.5 tenths improvement. So sorry I missed that, I wasn't aware that he was on his lap, but here's Conyell through the final corner, back on the power. He can't improve on that P15, and that is going to be it. Jack and Dylan are going to take each other up to make the race a bit more competitive. That will be an interesting one to see. I have a bit of Spain 2016. Here are the final qualifying results though. A Haas 1-2, they can be pretty happy with that, and that's going to give them a lot of confidence. Even if the race doesn't go that way, that's going to give them a lot of confidence going into the next season. Racing Point 3-4, equally they can be pretty happy. Still about 2.5 tenths back from the cars ahead. But if they get a good start, we know how good it is starting on the second row here at Russia. The long toe down to turn number 2. Sure, they can be pretty happy. NSX Lion, a good effort in P5 ahead of T on his final lap, who actually got the exact same time as Phil in 7th, but set the time before, so he will take the place. A little bit further back, as I get it up on my stream, Billy was only P8, wasn't able to improve on that final run. Thomas was impressive P9 for Toro Rosso, sure he can be pretty happy with that, and then Steve in the Red Bull rounded out the top 10. Looking forward to this race. We'll see how it goes. I believe we've got 17 drivers on the grid. I'm not entirely sure. I believe we have had one of the McLaren drivers join, Crash Vettel, that's Max. He has joined the session, so he'll be starting at the back. Just wait for the last few drivers to load into the session. We'll be ready for the formation lap. That's everyone on the stream. Hope you're having a good day. What are your predictions for the race? Let's get a top 3 prediction. Remember, we will have the top 3 drivers joining us in the session, in the party, for a post-race interview. Who do you think them 3 drivers will be when the checkered flag falls? So yes, just to confirm, we will have 17 drivers on the grid for the start of the pre-season test. F1 neutral Instagram, let's go Reese and Max. Couple of fans in the chat. Here we go. So the top 14 drivers all opting to start on the soft tyre, as I touched on in qualifying. There's not as much advantage here starting on the on a harder tyre than there would be at other tracks, because the tyre wear is very low here, and I don't expect it to be a 2-stop race. I imagine everyone will be going for a 1-stop. Got Let's Go Haas in the chat. Jack Dillon and Tim getting some luck will get 3rd. So looks like 1-2 will stay the same, but Super Guy NL's money is on Tim to come to the final spot of the podium from P6 on the grid. And then further down we've got the Ferrari of Conyell on the medium tyre, not the medium tyre, the hard tyre, sorry. So that's an interesting one. He'll be quite off the pace at the start of the race. Yeah, that's an interesting one, if I'm honest. Anyway, we'll have to see. You never know, he might come to the front after a madness of tyre wear and win the race. Marine, the most decorated, saying Phil, Rico and someone else in 3rd. And then Felix, Marine's teammate in GPRL, up in I say down, P16 on the medium tyres. Felix pastures new this season in the Renault, and then Crash Vettel. This is Max at the back of the grid on the soft tyres. So here we go. We've got all the drivers, well, 17 drivers, all successfully completed the formation lap. I'm surprised that no one got kicked off the formation lap, so fair play to you all. Let's see if they can keep that cleanness going into turn number 2. Big slipstream Lots of chances to move up a lot of places here. Down into the second corner. Got a green flag. We got all the drivers are ready. It's time to start season 4 of VRL. There's 5 red lights ahead of the drivers. It's lights out and away we go. It seems as if both Hasses got away well, but looks like there's a racing point. Dylan already ahead of his teammate Jack. It looks like Sem might get involved in the mix as we go down towards turn number 2. Dylan going all the way over to the right. There's a bit of contact with Williams and the barrier. Dylan round the outside of the racing point. We got a lot of drivers off, taking the escape route. Looks like the Hasses have maintained a 1-2, and the Hasses are going to go side by side as Dylan falls out. He's lost a place to his teammate. He might lose another place to Sam as he goes into turn number 5. Looks as if he's just about held on to that one as we continue. It's still a Haas 1-2 as Dylan going wide. We've got NSX Lion going even further wide there, so there's a lot of carnage. Further back is Tim now picking up places. He's side by side with the Red Bull who's been off the track all over the place. There's Billy with a big moment there. Did a good job to keep it on the track. He's side by side. We got Thomas out of the session now, so he's clearly been involved in an accident. As we can see, Billy a bit of front wing damage there, so he's going to be vulnerable to an attack from Phil down this back straight and into the final podium position. The final sector, sorry, I don't know where I got podium position for. Phil attacking now down the inside. We got Tim and NSX Lion going side by side further up. You've got a bit of lag there from Phil, but he's got up ahead. He's still got NSX Lion and Tim battling side by side into this final sector. It's carnage here as we go on into the final sector, about to start lap number 2. The top 3 have all got pretty comfortable with gaps around them. The same can't be said for the drivers further down. Tim almost pushing NSX Lion in the Red Bull through the final couple of corners. And there's going to be a bit of a slipstream fest down into turn number 2. Got Tim in the slipstream, gaining on the Red Bull. He's going down the inside. Late braking moves the drivers a wheel to wheel. Bit of contact there as NSX Line again off the track. Got Billy going off the track a little bit further off again himself. And I'd be surprised if NSX Line does not have a time penalty yet. He must have picked up a fair share of warnings because he must have been off the track 3 or 4 times. As Tim now still hounding the Red Bull of NSX Lion. A little bit further back, looks like we've got a little bit of a train emerging behind Billy, who picked up damage on the first lap. As you can see, that taking its toll. Steve right behind Billy now. He's going to look to claim this position. He'll be looking for P7, then he can push on and try and get to the likes of Phil and Tim. Here goes Steve. The Rebel looking pretty handy down the straights. He's going to be side by side with the Williams driver. Can't quite make it work. The lone Williams today. The other Williams not able to take the start after a fuel leak issue. Looks like everything's going to stay as is. We've got Felix now moving past the McLaren driver up into P12. Good job for himself. He seems to have kept it clean in this opening exchange as DRS is now enabled. Steve now has got past Billy, and I believe Billy has gone into the pits to replace that front wing. We've also got Rico in the pits, so he must have had damage too. As we look a little bit further up, DRS now activated. Expect to see quite a lot of overtakes starting to happen as drivers are able to close up to one another with the rear wing system being enabled. F1 neutral saying great start for our guys. Max P17 to P11 and Reese P14 to P12. Hasn't been a bad start for your McLaren guys, as Crash Vettel has actually managed to break into the points, and Reese on the verge of points in P11, so McLarens could be picking up some valuable points. DRS aquaplaning has left the session, wasn't aware he was in it. But nevertheless, here's Tim still giving an SX Line a run for his money. Onto the back straight now. The Renault's looking strong. We cut back to Felix now. He's close to Max in the McLaren. Not able to make a move yet though. I fancy him to make a move. Felix looking very strong as of right now. He's got to clear these slower drivers. He's got to clear these slower drivers quick though, so we can break into the top flight. Sam is quite close to Dylan here, and be interested to see if he can have a run. Looks like they're all just slipstreaming each other at the moment. Sam's gaining on Dylan, but it's not quite enough, as I think Jack might be providing a bit of a slipstream to Dylan. There's a little time penalty there. Hey, finally we have Tim. Sorry I missed that. Tim getting past the Red Bull now of NSX Lion. He's very close in behind though. Will he go for a move down the inside of turn number 4? He's going to stick his front wing in there. Thankfully though, the drivers navigate it without contact. A little bit further back, Felix now is ahead of Max, and he's up into P9, so he can push on up to Zeph, as Max now needs to focus on keeping the position. Got NSX Line 3-second time penalty for track limits, as now the drivers continue onto the back straight. A Red Bull very close to the back of Tim. I imagine he'll be taking this position without too many issues. Tim's going to defend the outside line. NSX Line's going to go even wider though, so he's going to have the inside line into this right-hander. There's a little bit of contact between the drivers. They are wheel to wheel. Tim's going to keep the position though. However, a great switchback line from the Red Bull was sort of hand in the inside. Tim does leave him the room. There's very respectful driving between these two as they continue now. And Tim just about holding on. However, it might have been smart from Tim to actually give NSX Line the position and then reclaim it with DRS onto the main straight. Slightly risky strategy that is, admittedly. A little bit further back, here's Zeph, really close to the back of Steve. The sister Toro Rosso racing the brotherly Red Bull, looking to make an impact here. There goes Zeph round the outside of Steve up into P7. That's a strong move for himself, and he can press on as Phil picks up a time penalty. This NSX Line still very close to Tim. There's a little bit further back, we've got two drivers. Well, they seemed close on my little radar. Jamil, who has already stopped, the only Alfa Romeo in the race today. He's closing up on Billy, who went onto the hard tyres. So Billy will be going to the end. However, Jamil will not be. I don't believe he'll be able to stretch them tyres. Lion again very close to Tim, however not able to make a move. I'm noticing a bit of understeer on the front of that Red Bull. Looking at the front wing, it's pretty fine, so I would be led to the idea that his tyres are slightly above the operating window and starting to overheat now. Moran saying Zeph overtaking Steve. It's an interesting one. Zeph showing good pace so far. Steve struggling in the Red Bull. And it looks like NSX Line now slightly too far back to have a go into turn number 2. It would be very aggressive, and he's not going to take that chance. Back to the top flight though. Dylan has been slowly closing in on VRT Midnight, and if he continues at this pace, he may have a chance on the back straight. Meanwhile, we've got Reese in the pits, medium tyres, hard tyres, sorry, on the McLaren. He'll drop back to last, and he will be going to the end. So surprising he's not going to try and stretch to the medium tyres. Clearly he feels quite confident going on them. Be interested to see if he's able to do that or not. If he's able to pull it off. If he can get a big undercut, he will be able to break into the top 10. We'll have to see. Here comes Steve though, close back up to the back of Zeph, and at the front it's all getting very tight as Dylan is right on the back now of Jack, and Sem is also quite close himself. So I'm not sure what the reason for this drop off of pace from VRT Midnight is. Maybe because of tyre overheating. It's quite easy to overheat your tyres here, but it looks like Dylan is going to go through that. May have been an engineered swap between the two Haas drivers, but here comes Sem, not quite close enough to make a move. So a change of the lead at the front. However, it may have been instigated because Dylan does look the faster driver. Here is Zeph and Steve Batten's a little bit of contact there, I believe. As the two drivers will now be side by side through the long left-handed hander, but Steve gets ahead back up into P7, and he needs to get his head down and focus on pushing up to the next car ahead. But yeah, it looks like Dylan with a little bit more pace than VRT Midnight. However, Jack staying with his teammate. So this will be an interesting one to see how it plays out. It did seem as if it was an engineered swap. I go back to it again. However, looks like they're going to swap themselves back over again as VRT Midnight moves into the lead. They've got to be careful with all this swapping there, because if they get too close, Sam will say thank you very much and they will hand the lead and presumably the race victory to Sam. As we continue now though, other than this top flight, there's Dylan. Okay, Dylan into the pits now. So he's going to be looking for an undercut. It's quite early, 20 laps to the end. Will he be going onto the hard tyres? We've got the Red Bull guys coming out. We've got NSX line in the pits also. Medium tyres for Dylan. Good stop. Happy days. Medium tyres also for the Red Bull of NSX Lion. That's going to promote Max up into P8. Meanwhile, Zeph still hounding Steve. These two have been keeping with each other for a while now. Be interested to see if Billy can come out close to some of the guys ahead. He's had that front wing fix, so he's definitely on the back foot. And I don't think he'll be, yeah, he's not going to be anywhere near to them guys. So, yeah, Billy's going to be hoping for a safety car. Billy and everyone behind him will be hoping for a safety car to get them back into a decent position for this race. Be interested to see if any of these guys pit, because clearly the pit window for the intermediate, not the intermediate tyres, the medium tyres is very much open. We've seen a couple of drivers stop already. Sam just about clinging onto the DRS of Jack. Will one of them pit though? We've seen Dylan come into the stops, into the pits, and he is now on the back of Conyol, who started on the hard tyres. So I think he's hoping for a safety car to keep him in the game. But it looks like, yeah, Sem pits. Okay, Jack continues, Sem into the pits now. So this is covering off the undercut from Dylan. Has the overcut been successful? Will he be able to emerge ahead? We've got a Renault crew out of the pit lane. There goes Tim as he follows the car ahead in. Medium tyres for both drivers. It's going to promote Max up into P6. So where does Dylan come out in relative to the two guys? He's ahead of both of them. And yeah, Sem's dropped a bit of time there. And Conyol in the fray might have a go around the outside. And he's not quite going to be close enough. But yeah, looks like Dylan made about a second with that undercut. So VRT Midnight may be in trouble here, as he may forfeit the lead. As we have a little look at the gap, we'll have a look at the position change and the gap to the leader. Dylan about 24 seconds now, which is pretty much how long it takes for a pit stop here in Russia. So it'll be interesting to see if Midnight is going to continue or pit. I'd imagine he might try and stretch it. Now he's got that lead, however, of course, as soon as I say that, into the pits comes VRT Midnight. I can imagine he'll be going onto the medium tyre. to the end of the race. As I mentioned earlier, the tyre wear, nothing to worry about here, as Steve is now in the pits, which is gonna, with Jack pitting, that's gonna promote Phil to the lead. Zeph will be in second and Felix will be in third. Felix started on them medium tyres, so he will have to stop again. Here comes VRT Midnight. There goes Dylan. I think it's going to be quite close between these two. On the pit exit, Dylan is ahead of his teammate, so the reserve driver ahead of the full-time driver. So a very good strategy there from Dylan to pit early and get the undercut. But now VRT Midnight does have about 2 lap fresher tyres than his teammate. So will he be able to make them work or not? We've got Max now into the pits and out of the pits. Comes out in P12 just behind Billy. I can imagine that it shouldn't be too hard of a move for Max to get past the Williams, as he is on older hard tyres. Further up to the battle for the effective lead though, currently the battle for P4, the drivers ahead of Dylan, all yet to pit. I don't think VRT Midnight is quite close enough yet for a move. So we are on the 10th lap of this race. Jack not able to make a move yet. However, he's going to continue to pressurise the Haas driver, his teammate, through the final sector. Remember, Dylan is a reserve for this season, stepping in today. And very impressive drive. We know of his pace, and we know how strong he is. It's also a good job from Sam to be keeping with them so far today. He hasn't been able to properly take it to them though. Looks like Dylan, with a strong exit off the final corner, isn't going to be challenged by his teammate. Meanwhile, here's Felix, still on them medium tyres, closing up to Zeph, who's still on them soft tyres from the start of the race, so he's really stretched them out. I'd be interested to see how far Felix goes, because it won't be, if he stays out on these tyres, it won't be ages until the Haas is behind him and Sem catch up to him. Be interested to see if he's going to opt for the hard tyres or the soft tyres at the end of the race. I'd imagine he'd be going for the soft tyres, as now we go on to the final straight with Felix DRS activated. Is he close enough to make a move? Looks like we got Max and Billy battling down the inside. There's a bit of contact there from Max, and I'm not sure if that was a bit too aggressive as he forced off his rival. Nevertheless, he's up into P11. I'm sure the stewards might have a little look at that one, because that was very aggressive. Meanwhile, VRT Midnight closed right up to the back of his teammate on these fresher tyres. We got Phil Smith into the pits now. He will drop back. Can VRT Midnight though stay close enough to Dylan through these final few laps? The fastest lap from Midnight, and then matched and actually slightly quicker from Sam. However, I think Dylan is just a little bit too quick on the straight. He's got a yellow flag in the final sector. We've got a car off. That is Billy, who's gone into the wall. Will that cause a safety car? It's quite an interesting place to go off. I'm not sure if there was an issue with the car or not. It looks like we're not going to have a safety car, and it's just going to be a double wave yellow in the final sector. The safety car right now would be perfect for Felix, or even a VSC. Meanwhile, I've got Jamil and Luke battling. Jamil on both these drivers on 10 lap old tyres. Luke on the hard tyres. He's going to try to go around the outside of his rival. That's a very impressive move amid going off the track, so I'm not sure he'll have to make that, give that position back. And now Jamil's going to try around the outside. Luke's tyres will be in better condition due to them being harder tyres. They're still side by side through this middle sector. Excellent driving here between these two drivers. As it looks like they're going to continue battling, as Jamil will pick up the DRS, and he is pretty close to his rival, so if he keeps it clean out of this corner onto the back straight. He doesn't have loads of ERS to play with though, so that may affect him. We've got Zef into the pits now. So here is the battle for the lead. VRT Midnight is very close, but it still looks as if Dylan, off the exit of the corner, able to pull away, and Jack's just not able to get close enough to have a sniff. Further back, looks like we got Tim and NSX Lion battling Tim up into P5. Good move from himself there. Pretty easy down the inside with DRS. Here comes the Red Bull back again for more round the outside of the left-hander. It's going to hand him the inside into this right-hander. There's nearly contact, and I don't know how the drivers avoided contact there. But Tim around the outside holding P5. And Tim's had a very strong drive today. And if he's currently on for P4 when Felix pits, if something happens between the top flight guys, he can snatch a podium. However, Dylan ahead of Jack again onto this back straight. Does Dylan have enough in the tank to keep his teammate behind? He's close, but not quite close enough for a move. Notably, he's in 0 ERS, so happy to stick behind for the main straight, but he's really close now. It looks as if his fresh tyre advantage is starting to come into play, as Dylan's tyres start to get ever so slightly worn. They won't be too bad yet, but there will be a difference between the two rich energy cars. Looks as if Dylan was slightly wide through the penultimate corner, which is going to set VRT Midnight up beautifully now. He's in the slipstream. He does have DRS. It's the fastest lap of the race for Tim, but here comes Jack down the inside of Dylan. Dylan not putting up too much of a fight as he slices his way through up into P2, picks up a time penalty on his way doing it, but up into effectively what will be P1 when Felix pits. And can Dylan stay there, or can he repel the attack and go on attack of his own? He's dropped back ever so slightly through the middle sector, as you would expect though with the dirty air. As I have mentioned before, Dylan's got to be, well, the two Haas drivers have got to be careful that they don't battle too hard and bring Sam into the battle. Sam ever so slightly behind. However, if something happens, he will be there to pick up the scraps. A bit further back, we've got NSX Line still very close to Tim. He's gone very wide there. That's ruined, as we got Reese now out of the session. I'm not sure if he's gone off. Well, clearly he has gone off, and it's in the first sector, so I'm not sure if there's going to be any consequences of that, but so interesting there. I'm not entirely sure what the issue was. It'd be great to hear from him, as he's left the session now. Here comes Zephyr, pressurising Conyol, trying to get up into P9. He'll have DRS, he's going to go around the out. There's contact! And Zeph has taken out the Ferrari. That's a big crash. And that I'm not entirely sure what happened there. There's a car on the track as NSX Lion now retiring from the session. He's gone off on the right. So we've had two crashes in one lap. There's got to be a safety car for this. I'd be surprised if there isn't. So contact between Zeph and Conyol, taking him out of the session. Rico now retiring from the session, so I'm not sure if he's been caught up in an incident of his own. It's all going off here on lap number 15. If there's not a safety car, I don't know what's going to happen. Lamau or WTF. I completely agree. We've had four cars out the session in the last few laps, and I'm sure it's positive that the stewards will have a look. I'm so surprised that there's not a safety car thrown for that, and I'd be so surprised if Zeph doesn't pick up a penalty from that, because from my position it just looked as if he took him out. We'll have to review the replay though as Sam now is closer to Dylan than Dylan is to his teammate. So will the Racing Point be able to get in between the Hasses? I don't think he will be, because Dylan with the DRS and slipstream from his teammate. These two closing up to Felix ahead. That was a madness. Be interesting to see what the guys have to say about it in the chat. Zeph involved in another accident. So yeah, a bit of a madness really. But got a lot of cars retiring in that little short space of time. We had Reese retire from just outside of the points. We had Conyo obviously get taken out by Zeph. He could have been on for points if things went his way. Remember, he would have had fresh tyres at the end. Rico was caught up in an instant we didn't see, and so was NSX Lion. We continue to follow the top three through the final sector. They've all been keeping each other very honest. Dylan, small mistake through the penultimate corner. That's going to put Sam right onto the back of him. However, is he close enough? Does he have enough straight line speed to go and challenge Dylan? Because remember, Dylan does have DRS and the slipstream from the car ahead. Sam's put it into no ERS. He doesn't have much faith in making that move. He's quite happy to sit behind in the slipstream for the time being. A little bit further back, we got Luke on the back of Max now. This is the battle for P9. DRS activated for Luke as he goes through turn number 1 onto the straight. Max going to defend the inside quite aggressively, side by side into the braking zone. Round the outside goes Luke. That's a very impressive move from the Racing Point driver. Can Max though keep it in? They're going to be side by side as they go through the left-hander now. The two drivers still side by side, not giving each other an inch. They're still side by side. Luke, sorry, going off the track as they go side by side yet again into the next right-hander. Max holding it in there. This is a very impressive battle between these two, and Max has held it in front of Luke, and congratulations, that's a really good battle between these two drivers. Luke's tyres are fading as Felix now into the pit lane. We will cut back to that battle in just a moment. Soft tyres for Felix. So he's passed by his teammate. So he's now out of the pit lane. Out of the pit box, so I should say. Where will he emerge? Max still ahead. However, he's clearly struggling and seems to be slower than Luke as he pulls off to the inside to cover the inside into the penultimate corner. An interesting place to defend, but nevertheless, going to continue. You can see the flashing red lights on the back of the McLaren showing that he was harvesting ERS through that final sector. Now back on the power, flat out. Looks like Luke's going to make pretty easy move there. It's going to be easier than last time. He's going to breeze past Max into turn number 2. As Max though is going to come back, he's got a wonderful exit out of turn number 2, and he's going to breeze up the inside of the Racing Point there. So good job, but Luke now back around the outside for more yet again. He goes off the track. Not sure if he's going to be able to keep that position. He does though. It's clearly deemed as not an illegal overtake, so he'll be pretty chuffed with that. These two putting on a very good show. Back to the front now. Looks like Dylan closing right back up to his teammate, and I would imagine that he's going to have this move should he want it. He's banged it up into overtake ERS, you can see on the steering wheel, so he's definitely going for it. VRT Midnight seemingly struggling, maybe with the tyres, not entirely sure what with, There goes Dylan to the inside. Sem's very close behind to pick up on any scraps. Down the inside goes Dylan. He's up into P1. Is Jack going to be able to make a move though? He's not. He's harvesting ERS as we go through this left-hander. It looks like Sem still there, not quite having the pace to break into these guys as it would be, but if they make a mistake, as Luke pits now, that's going to put him basically out the running for any points in this pre-season test race. Samo is close to VRT Midnight. He's very close actually, he's gaining on him down the back straight. Does he want to go for it? Jack's going to defend the inside line. Sam not quite having enough of a run on him, but it's very close now, and maybe this race is swinging into Sam's favour. If he can keep his tyres alive, which I believe he may have been able to do, as he's been sitting back in the slipstream of these guys, letting them battle and letting them overheat their tyres potentially. Could this swing into the favour of Sem, and could he pick up a win? You know, is that too far out of the question? It looks like Dylan though, creating a comfortable, well I say comfortable as it will be at this current point in time. Felix sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 1:33.537 for the Renault driver, as he closes in on Phil. Just over a second between those guys, as we've still got battling going on between these top three. They've been top and tail all race, and it's going to go down to the finish. Got just 7 laps left in this pre-season test of VRL Season 4. No points on offer today, but definitely you can make a statement, and definitely if you're in Dylan's position, a reserve ahead of the main driver. Not to commentator's curse or jinx anything, but looking good for the race win if he can keep it clean and not pick up any track extending penalties. Meanwhile, Felix is now closed up on his fresher soft tyres to the back of Phil. I can imagine this will be a relatively easy move for Felix on the Mercedes driver. You can see Phil conserving ERS, harvesting it down the back straight. There's no point picking that battle. Smart move there from Phil to tuck him behind, and he will hopefully, I'm sure he'll hope to sit in the slipstream and continue and close up to Sir Steve Matam in the Red Bull, which will be Felix's next target. However, after that I'm not sure if he'll be able to close up to his teammate up in P4. There's about a 5-second gap. He'll need a second a lap or so. So it'll be impressive if he can do so. But it's Felix, he's capable of anything. Recently winning the Season 5 Championship in GPRL, fighting off drivers such as Dylan and Marine, both race winners in VRL I believe. I know Marine is, I'm not entirely sure about Dylan, but Dylan currently in the lead of the race, propelling the attack from VRT Midnight as he has the last few laps. However, it looks like these two would prefer to be in second at this point in time and just sit behind, because these two's pace are very, very close. I think originally in qualifying they were separated by only 10 thousandths of a second before Jack, set a very good lap time right at the end. Luke on softer tyres sets the fast lap of the race. He's going to move past Max, who pits. Meanwhile, Felix has got past Steve on the back straight. Apologies for missing that, but that was inevitable. And he's got about 6 laps to close about a 6-second gap to his teammates, so I'll be interested to see if he can do that. But nevertheless, Felix has had a very strong race. And for everyone watching the stream, comment section, who is your driver of the day? Here is Sam now, right on the back of VRT Midnight. I cut to this and it was very close, and it just doesn't look as if the drivers are willing to make a move yet. There's still 5 laps left in this Grand Prix. You see VRT Midnight coming under attack and then just bolting off and closing back up to his teammate. So it's all very close and too close to call who would be the winner at this point in time. There's so little time left in the race that the cars are going to be on very light fuel. It's all about who's got it left in the tyres. Remember Dylan with 2 lap older tyres than his teammate. He made the undercut work earlier on in the race. Here goes Dylan. Here goes Jack, sorry. He's very close to his teammate. Dylan defending the inside line and making it quite awkward there for his teammate to find a way through. Whilst this is all going on, Sam is still there in the wings waiting for an opportunity. Will the opportunity come about there? Still waiting to see one of these guys make a move. This is the only real on-track battle at the moment. And it's a big one for the lead. And if a move is made here, it could be for the win of the race. Midnight closer to Dylan this time round than he was the previous lap before. However, not opting to take the slipstream or use any ERS power. So, as I mentioned, he's happy to be in second at the moment. However, he can't sit behind for too long because he will overheat his tyres. And as I mentioned, the threat of Sam in the racing point is always there. Currently a Haas 1-2. I'm sure their team principal will be sitting pretty happy at this one. However, I can imagine he'll be sweating at the sight of seeing his drivers been battling for the last 23 laps, and I can't see this battle fizzling out in the next 5. I can imagine this will be a battle to the end, but Sam again very close to VRT Midnight. Looks as if Midnight may have had to back off to cool his tyres. The Haas team principal coming in with the on the license saying, "I'm not happy, I'm dying with stress." I feel you, mate. You can imagine it, there are 2 drivers side by side, wheel to wheel, top to tail for the last 24 laps now. Just a few to go. However, impressively they have been able to keep it very clean. And it will be interesting to hear from these guys at the end of the race. Will the podium stay the same? There's always a chance of contact. You know, Tim and Felix are only 5 seconds behind. So if anything happens, they'll be there to pick up the scraps. Crash Vettel, Max now out of the session. So for McLaren, what looked like they could score some good points, look as if, well, no, they're not going to score any points, full stop. So I'm not sure how that crash came about. I'll have to check after, but it's somewhere in sector 2, so the leaders will be coming up on it now. Green flag. So the accident has been cleared. Yet again onto the back straight. Looks like Sam not quite as close as he was the lap before. Just 10 drivers left in this race, 17 started, so quite a lot of eliminations today in this pre-season test. As Dylan ever so slightly wide there through the final sector, that could leave him very vulnerable from attack from VRT Midnight into the onto the start-finish straight. He's very close, but does Jack want to make the move? You can see he's banged up the ERS mode. DRS activated into the slipstream, well, out of the slipstream. Sam's nowhere near. Well, he's near, but not close enough to challenge. So Jack opting to stay in P2. As we mentioned, interesting strategy. However, I'm sure Jack will come knocking maybe on the final lap of the race. Sam though, again onto this back straight out into the final sector, closer to the Haas of Jack than he is to his teammate. So it looks like Sam's strong through the middle sector, but not able to make it work. On to the penultimate lap now. Here we go. DRS activated for Dylan. Tuck into the inside, well out the way. Not gonna make a move for Jack, he's happy to sit behind. This is gonna be maybe one more chance. Next lap, that main straight, they won't have another chance past it unless they want to be aggressive down into the hairpin after the DRS zone. So it'll be interesting to see if Jack will finally go for the move. He's definitely got the pace, he's there to do it. Will he take the position there? On to the back straight now. He will have DRS. Will he go for a move? Going to stick behind. He's quite happy. Sam is also very close. It's not out of the question we have a 3 wide moment down into turn number 2 now. It's all quite tense. I can imagine the Haas team principal's heartbeat is through the roof. Jack though ever so slightly slow off the final couple of corners, which may actually leave him vulnerable to an attack from Sam. Here we go then, on to the final lap of the race. Is Sam close enough? I don't think any of them are close enough for a move actually. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, top 3 are going to stay as they are. The 2 Renaults are very close to each other. Felix has impressively closed down that gap, and I can imagine he'll be looking for a move. Sam, Dylan, Jack and Sam all still in order as they follow suit. Felix right up behind his teammate. It'd be very impressive if he can get past, considering where he started. You can see he will have a lot more grip to his advantage because of those soft tyres. He started on the mediums. It looks like Dylan now creating a gap to his teammate, so he should be pretty safe as he goes through the final sector. I don't think he'll come under attack from any of the drivers, and I don't think Jack will come under attack from Sam, as he is pretty safe. VRT Midnight got close, but I don't think he's quite close enough. A little bit further back, Felix not quite close enough on his teammate. There's now the final couple of corners. All Dylan has to do is keep the car on the road. I don't think he will be affected by penalties. It's been a very impressive drive from Dylan. He made the strategy work with the undercut. He got ahead of his teammate, and now through the final corner he sees the checkered flag. Dylan wins it on the road, but VRT Midnight is going to claim the win of the pre-season test after penalties are applied to Dylan. Sam kept them honest the whole race, but wasn't able to get properly in the mix. Felix got ahead of his teammate. Not on the road, Tim did hold him up, but after penalties that changed. Steve was P6, Phil was P7, Zeph managed P8, and comfortable gap behind to Jamil, who will come home in P9, who actually took those medium tyres 25 laps. So that's very impressive there for Alfa Romeo driver. What a drive from the top three guys, top to tail, all race. Jamil will finish P9. Here comes Luke through the final corner, and we're going to see the provisional race results for the pre-season test of VRL Season 4. First though, here's the podium. A Haas 1-2. So here are the results. Remember, they are provisional. Dylan with that one extra penalty which dropped him behind his teammate. Nevertheless, finished ahead of him on the track and was able to hold him off for a lot of the race. I'm sure that's going to appeal to the Haas team principal. Jack, the VRT Midnight, with the win. And he's in the driving seat quite literally. It really is first blood for Season 4. Sam rounded off the podium, impressive drive, however couldn't tackle the top guys. Felix was 4th from 16th, managed to just sneak ahead of his teammate, impressive drive from himself. Tim did a good job to gain one position on his starting point. Steve was 6th from 10th on the grid. Phil managed to retain P7. Zeph was 8th, ahead of the Alfa Romeo of Jamil, who had quite a stint on them medium tyres, taking them 25 laps. And yeah, I have to say well done to the top guys. Anyway, I will be inviting them to the session, to my party, so we can have a quick word with them. So we will add them to the party right now. If you just give me one moment. VRT Midnight. Dylan Warren managed to finish P2 in the race, which I'm going to be pretty happy with that. And then Sam managed to pick up P3. As you lot already know, we will wait for them to join the session now. Join the party. Just wait for the top 3 to join. You can catch a little interview. Welcome VRT Midnight. We'll come to you first. Very impressive race for yourself. Just give us a little rundown of how you felt in the car.
I mean, my time trial up slightly quicker, but and Dylan obviously, you know, a 30 point flat or 30 flat in time trial, but you know, I mean, Holly was decent, I guess. Yeah, I did. Shut up again. No, we're not gonna talk about that.
But
yeah, but I normally do.
Go on.
Yeah. In the race, I got a poor start, and luckily I broke. Sam went in my inside, but I was able to go right round the outside of him and get the position back. And then me and Dylan did team orders for the rest of the race because we had to manage, because we didn't realize that Sam would be in our DRS for the whole race and stay in there. So we just kept switching places. So like, if someone got a penalty, or Dylan would get a penalty, I would drop back and I would just make sure that there's, what do you call it? Dylan, can you explain it, please? I'm really struggling with the English language.
Yep. Yeah, interesting tactics. What was that like being, top and tail from basically the start to finish of the race?
Normal. It was very boring, yeah.
Well,
We were just sitting there and there was just no battling because we would just keep switching places.
Yeah,
and
it was.
time it's just really boring.
It was almost frustrating for me in commentary. Is he going to go for a move? Is he going to go? But you guys played it well, and at the end of the day, it's 1-2 for the team. Yeah, yeah, it did seem pretty. Yeah, but I don't think we've got Sam joining the party. Is he salty? But yeah, Dylan, as a reserve driver, I'm pretty sure you can be quite happy with today.
Wait, tell you I was a love drive, I didn't even know. I can't either.
Right.
But he had a DRS failure anyways. So I had to slot behind him and just...
Oh, right, okay.
Because if I stayed in front of him... No, I didn't want to go though because... Yeah, just because Sam could overtake him at any moment. And they both have same amount of penalties. So.
Yeah, and just back to you, Jack. Good win. I'm sure you can be happy. How do you feel for the upcoming season then?
I mean, it's a strong start from pre-season.
I have invited Sam. I'll re-invite him. But yeah, go on. Continue.
Actually make most of the races, but we're not going to talk about that.
And I heard your team principal in the chat. He was pretty stressed. You guys did a good job. Have you spoken?
He was more nervous than us. He
Yeah.
was more nervous than us.
Have you spoken to him about goals for the season, where you aim to be in the constructors? Win.
Win.
I've heard a lot of teams say that. So someone's got to win.
Oh, they're trying. Yeah.
I look forward to seeing that, and
Goes to round one, we bought all the races.
yeah, I look forward. So well done to the two of you.
Yeah.
And you did a good job. Sam has an invite, bitter shown.
He's salty.
So
I'm a brick wall, he couldn't get past, he's sorry.
I mean, but Sam did a good job. In terms of qualifying, it was a 3-4. Luke fell off. I think he had some contact. But do you guys really see a challenge coming from the Racing Point team?
Yeah.
No.
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 Maybe some at times, like when he sees our DRS and just feeds off of our DRS, but no. Apart from that, no.
Fair enough. But Felix came from Renner. I was going to bring up Felix's drive. He came from 16th on the grid at the back and up to. He did. And how much was the dirty air affecting you?
It wasn't that bad. Nothing. I literally didn't feel the dirty air.
Yeah.
I could literally follow Dylan. I could literally follow Dylan through the second sector. Literally, I can literally stay on his ass. I can literally just stay there. and just literally for the whole race I can just sit behind him.
Fair enough.
Okay,
And how hard was
yeah,
it to manage? Yeah, how hard was it to manage the temperature of your tyres? Because I think we had a few drop-offs.
There was nothing. I could get to lap 10 and they'll be fine. Yeah.
Oh well, fair enough. Very good job, and I'm sure you'll be strong next time out. And drivers, I wish you the best of
Lucas
luck.
is racing. Lucas is racing too. He's probably gonna bottle. He's gonna bottle.
We'll see, but nevertheless, Jack, best of luck, and Dylan, best of luck for the next time. Next time out. So thank you very much.
Yay.
Also, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on this stream. Next race is Australia, isn't it?
Bahrain.
Is it Bahrain?
Oh, no, it's Australia.
No, it's Australia. Yeah, it's Australia. Yeah, make sure you join us this time.
Oh wait, the Bahrain I can actually meet. Oh wait, no, shut up. I'm
Are you
thinking
alright,
about EVR.
Are you alright?
I'm really dumb.
Right. Thank you guys for joining. I really hope you have enjoyed. We'll have Sam back next time out, and I look forward to starting the season. So join us then.
Salty.